So yeah, I'm not a photographer. I think many of you are photographers. Sometimes I'm wondering, what should I explain you about? But finally, I realized my job is quite important. Sometimes it's kind of just coordinating events and putting people together in contact. And yeah, everybody needs it. And first, so I'm French. I studied in France and worked for this Rencontre d'Arles, so Arles Photography Festival, and then moved to Berlin because I liked the city. And I don't know what you know about Germany. For me, it was quite new, the cultural field, because France is such a centralized country, as you may know. And it's all about Paris. It's changing a bit, but there are now really quite a lot of photo festivals everywhere. But in terms of main photo institutions, they are really great ones, but they're all in Paris. So Germany is, sorry, it's really like at school, but I thought like, I don't know, let's begin like this, is a federal country, and in this sense, many regions, I mean, each region is important, developing its own forces and projects, and several cities are really important for art and culture. So I would say Berlin, then Hamburg, Munich, and then maybe Cologne with Düsseldorf. And in terms of photography, there is not many institutions only dedicated to photography, but traditionally it's about photo collections in modern art museums. So you would have this Wolfgang Museum in Essen. So Essen is a rural area, industrial area, which has a huge photo collection. Then Sprengel Museum in Hanover is also very important, and Museum Ludwig in Cologne. So this is where photography is based, first of all. But then we will just go back to Berlin, because this is all about Berlin, and Malcolm contacted me because he wanted to develop projects with this city. Berlin is the city, as you may know, where many, many artists are living, because it's an attractive city, creative city. You still can afford your rent to live, but also maybe for a working space, a studio space. And also there still is, but there were much more for 20 years or 10 years, there are empty spaces because of the history of the country and the city, which was divided. And it was not so attractive for during some times. I mean, East Berlin was, many people were fleeing, so there were empty apartments, empty spaces. And so since the 90s, many people arrived to enjoy the life there, and many of them are artists. And it's quite important because finally, I have the feeling in Berlin, many projects are run by artists themselves. I mean, it's not that they are only creative and doing the art and maybe exhibiting. They are really, yeah, maybe also because the state and the institutions are not doing that much. There are not so many main companies. I mean, it's a capital, it's a huge city, but it's not where the money is in Germany. I mean, Berlin is a poor city, we always say, poor and sexy city. And so there is not so great private foundation for arts, and there are a few really good ones, but yeah. So I find it really strong that artists just rent some spaces and decide to create collectives like AFF Gallery and really make the job of a photo institution, of photo curators, of broadcasting the work, of doing educational activities, and that's really great. Yeah, I just wanted to say in terms of public institution, there is one photo collection, which is the Museum for Photography, which I also find a bit strange because it's actually, they do exhibitions in one level, the last level of this main building, which is basically most of all the building of the Helmut Newton Foundation. So it's more private foundation, and then the main public collection has the last floor, like somewhere. And they do good exhibitions, but you're like, okay, why the city of Berlin is not dedicating one venue for photography? So there are still a lot of people doing things with photography in Berlin. One great platform, if you want to have a look, is PIB, so Photography in Berlin. It's created for 2-3 years by a girl who is like my age and who is a photographer and creative director. And yeah, she wanted to put people together. So it's a website with agenda of all photo events, and also she's doing a newsletter and printing a little guide that you can have for free everywhere. And if you want to have an overview who is doing what, that's really great. And again, it's just a single person doing this, and she has enough fun for it. And now slowly she gets some partners, and you can pay subscriptions, so it helps to produce everything. And I would say, so yeah, for example, on the website, you see what's on following the borough or the dates. And she has kind of 300 venues listed. That some people who one day in the last years presented a photo event or exhibition. But I would say really actively showing photography all year long, it's kind of 20 venues. That's the little guide printing. So, and then I wanted to maybe talk about quickly, about 3 venues, which are private initiative. As I said, it's all about private initiative. So CO Berlin is really, like from abroad, everybody knows CO Berlin, and that would be the main photo museum. But it's not, as I said, it's not a photo museum with a collection like public. It's just 3 people, an architect, a photographer, and a designer in 2000 who decided to create this. And first it was, in the very beginning in a smaller place. Then it was for a very long time in this really beautiful building in Mitte, directly in the city center, which is an old post, like the main post offices in Berlin. And they did really great shows during years. They invited many international artists, and they do a lot of exchanges with photo festivals and other museums. And inside, it was really well done, but you could still see like the really old walls and old infrastructures because they still didn't have a lot of money to renovate or whatever. And it was still kind of temporary. That's all the story about Berlin, that you use some spaces, it's great, you enjoy it, everybody think, yeah, you are the main institution in the city, and suddenly, because now it's the city center and there are some investors who want to do a mall or a hotel or whatever, you cannot stay here and you have to move. And that was quite a strong thing in Berlin, that they had to leave the building and the city couldn't buy it or whatever, or try to help them. They helped a bit finding a new location. But as I say, that was really the reference for everybody. So it closed, and then they struggled to find new venues, and they finally end up in also a really great place, which is in Charlottenburg, so actually really close to this new public museum for photography. America House, which is a former American cultural center in ex-West Germany. They all do with private sponsors and funding. They did a crowdfunding campaign to finance the new lighting in the building, but it's still really, it was a difficult time, but now they are great again, and they have 2,000 square meters exhibition. It's all year, always 2 or 3 exhibitions at the same time, and 15 exhibitions per year or something. So that's really, if you come to Berlin for the first time, you have to go there if you are interested in photography. They do also some educational programs, some awards for young photographers and stuff. Another one is a really small, that's a bookshop of. Another one, I'm collaborating with them, I have to say, but Collection Regard, created by a French guy, a French collector, in 2011, who is just passionate about Berlin, about the history. He has jobs in other fields. And he was collecting historical photography, historical German photography, mostly from the 30s in the beginning. He became estate manager of an industrial photographer from the 30s. And then wanted to do one first exhibition, couldn't really find a venue so quickly in Berlin, and said, okay, I have an apartment, which is my office. I will just paint a bit and do it clean, and I will do the show there. And it was really successful and a lot of press. And finally, he decided, okay, I like to do it. It's important for the audience, so I will carry on. And he's doing 2 shows per year. And it's all about the history of Berlin, documentary photography, a lot the period of the Berlin Wall, of the Cold War, so from the 60s to the 90s. Many photographers who are from East Berlin, so they were maybe working a lot, photographing a lot, but they couldn't travel anywhere, so they couldn't do network and show their work. So there are a lot of archives who are like slowly like sleeping somewhere, and we try to rediscover these kind of projects. But the space is really less than 100 square meters. It's 3 rooms of a flat, and so he hosts his collection and archive, and then there are several photos on the wall. And one last that you already know a little bit, Art Gallery, which is, again, a single pair of people. So several photographers who decided together to create a collective. At the moment, you are around 8 or 10, I think. It's changing sometimes. Everything began also in 2011. And since this time, you did 60 exhibitions altogether, which is really great. And yeah, if you wouldn't really know exactly how it works, I mean, I asked you again some weeks ago, like, but are you one of this kind of communal gallery, which means still with a part of public funding from the city? And they said, no, we are just independent, and they are doing all themselves. That's also the exhibition space, so it's about 110 square meters. And it's in Friedrichshain, which is more east part of Berlin. So yeah, I don't know, compared to Scotland, I think you still have the feeling it's a lot of photography institutions and projects in Germany. I'm coming from France, I'm always fighting for even more great museums and public investment for photography. Yeah, I mean, so first, the Photo Month is a Parisian thing. It was created in Paris. And then it became European Month of Photography with several cities involved. They are not working that much together, the different European months. I mean, sometimes they do exchanges, but it's not that one person is directing all the cities' projects or whatever. And in Berlin, I'm not sure, I would say 10 years. It's 2 years, always in November, October, November. And that's firstly managed by city organization, already a cultural, how do you say, so a city public cultural stuff. They don't have a lot of funding. Basically, they coordinate the projects by doing a catalog and a website. So it's a communication altogether. I don't consider it that much as a photo festival in the idea that it's curated, all the projects to fit together, but you have to make an application and say, okay, I plan in this venue, this kind of exhibition. I would like to be involved in the program, to be included. And then they do this selection. And you have a beautiful catalog and flyers and great communication. And now, since 4 years, I mean 2 times, it's also some friends from me, they created the Monat off their photography, so the off months, fringe months. It's always like this, when a festival becomes successful, then you have some other events. And this was also in Paris, and now it's in Berlin since 2 times. And Malcolm and the IFF Gallery project will be included in the Monat off, because yeah, it's more for kind of project spaces and not the main museum, or the main museums would be in the official program, and other things are here. So yeah, it's going to be in October. It's a great occasion to come to Berlin at this time if you want, because that's the main, there are no other photo festivals or stuff in Berlin. It's the main timing. And I guess in the program there will be 100 venues showing photography or even more. And also a lot of artist talks and guided tours and stuff.